Well, perps, Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party, you know what we're doing here. Repping America, the center, common sense, and freedom. You know, I'm not for the right or the left. I'm for the middle. I'm for the party that pulls to the middle. You know, used to be moderate Republicans galore. Used to be moderate Democrats galore. Now everybody's pulled one way or the other. Man, F that shit. Let's get this thing popping. Okay, so right as I went to start filming this morning, I got the news that Bob Barker, longtime host of Price is Right, passed away at the age of 99. I knew Bob also as a panelist on The Match Game, you know that show with Brett Summers and Richard Dawson and Charles Nelson Riley and Scoey Mitchell, Betty White, Fannie Flagg, you know, all them. And he was a good, decent man. He was pretty funny, pretty clean, and, you know, he always says make sure you spade and neuter your cats and dogs. I guess that goes for all your animals, but really your cats and dogs, we have too many of them just roaming the streets out there, and it's just a symbol of human irresponsibility. We just, you know, we got to cut down on the unwanted pet population. Another thing we got to cut down on is the clickbaity media. You know, they really hyped up the Hurricane Hillary. And, yeah, there was a lot of rain, but I didn't hear about a lot of damage. I certainly didn't see a lot of damage. And, you know, I was back to work on Monday. But, you know, following Hurricane, California's homeless begin the hard work of repooping all the sidewalks. Yeah. The homeless situation, man, the way the law works, again, for them. The law works for squatters. The law works for criminals. The law works for drug addicts and crazy people who rather just pitch tents. It's wild. Like, we call them involuntarily homeless, but they're not accepting shelters. Come on. Weak Hurricane Hillary performance blamed on Russian interference. Yeah, that's a good tie-in, too, because, you know, we're going to see, you know, the indictments have been coming down. And in reality, you know, both sides are doing stuff that is illegal or at least immoral and really has no place in government. I mean, maybe I'm foolish to try to hold politicians to a higher standard, but, you know, we got to start somewhere. This is one of my favorites of the week right here, because I love Mystery Science Theater. You know, much like the Match Game, my beloved Match Game, you know, Mystery Science Theater airs on Pluto TV. They have their own entire channel, along with riff tracks. But on Buzzer, between 3 and 5 p.m., I guess that's where I am, but it's probably the same for you. Just make the conversion. They have the Match Game. So, you know, Pluto, if you ever want to sponsor a video, here's a guy who uses Pluto every single day, and I love it. It's free because of ads, but when you're watching things like MST3K or Match Game, it's worth it. So enough of that commercial break. Back to my favorite meme of the week that got me thinking about all that. Trump to host live stream of debates where he insults the other candidates MST3K style. And, oh man, that's some good artwork right there. That's why it's in the thumbnail. Because, I mean, that says it all. And that's pretty much what went down, you know, they have this debate, and meanwhile, you know, this is happening. The Trump mugshot, you know, it's exploding on the internet. It's on T-shirts. You can pass me on that. Trump pays $12 extra to get cool laser background mugshot. You know, the thing about it is that this is a WWF wrestling character. He's done it. He's a TV host. He's pretty much just an actor. He's acted in things, as we'll be reminded. And he knows how to draw a crowd. He knows what to say, and he knows what to do to get elected. The problem is that he's relying on those assholes on the far right. You know, it used to be that you ignore the fringe and you concentrate on the middle, the moderates, and let these wackos vote for wacko candidates. But now they know how it slides the numbers and blah, 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 blah. So everybody plays to their extremes also. They disregard the middle because the middles, they feel locked in. I don't know. I think the extremes are locked in. I think you ignore the extremes and say, go find somebody else. But neither party is willing to take that risk. That's why the middle has such a hard time. Who cares? Trump isn't even the first actor from Home Alone 2 to have a mugshot released. Yeah. But you know what's even better than that? A movie, not on Pluto. It might be on Pluto. But a movie featuring 2 future governors. Yeah. Predator. Jesse the Body right there. Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's fucking crazy, really. You look at that picture and realize that those 2 guys lead states, or led states. I got to heckle Arnold at a Dodgers game once. That's a different story. Yeah, the Trump t-shirts have come out. But, that's, stemming from this whole indictment, January 6th, blah, 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 blah. Man accused of trying to violently overthrow government turns himself in peacefully again. And whatever. We'll see. We'll see. But anyhow, back to the debates here. Republicans gather to debate who will lose to Trump in a distant second. Probably didn't need to hear that. But anyhow, we'll check a few of these off as we go along. I don't see anything in Pence. Sure, he's a good guy, but yeah, we don't need that. It's not going to get elected. Christie, again, he's a career politician. A couple of those I don't even know because I don't even care to know. DeSantis in hot water for copying Indian kids' homework. Yeah, he was looking around, and they did these stupid raise your hand type questions, and DeSantis often was looking around. But that's part of his problem too, is that he's just simply being led by the extremist. He's not standing up for more of a moderate view. He's passed controversial laws in Florida, abortion laws, things like that. And to me, he seems like somebody who desperately wants to be in politics. And that scares me. And I can't remember his name now. See, that's how little. I'll look it up. I'll put it down there. This. I did, however, appreciate the comments from Nikki Haley. Biden didn't do this to us. The Republicans did it too. I think she's right. Pikachu down there agrees with me. She's so good, I might vote for her. Again, in a world where everybody likes the first, I never got that. People even do that in comments. First. But anyhow, please do that. But I think she's a wild card. I think she's a somewhat qualified wild card. And I kind of like her. We got to see who else is going to come and how they're going to run. Because there's people out there who have split from their parties. So it'd be interesting to see what the middle throws up this year. Or next year, I guess, this election. Tim Scott, another guy, I like him, but again, is he just going way over here to the right? But he was talking about carbon emissions and that they've fallen with capitalist expansion. I knew my dog was going to start barking. He's out there hunting rats right now. That's what he does. America has cut our carbon footprint by half in the last 25 years. That's what Tim Scott said. Where is it increasing? China and Africa. And this is not an excuse. Like a lot of people say, why should we do all this if China and Africa are going to continue to pollute? Well, that's not the issue. The issue is the pacing. The issue is the going too extreme with some of these things. I think it's great that we get our electricity from solar and wind, but my bill went up. So, at what pace do we do this? That's what I think a lot of people have a problem with. The pace and the whole blaming it on man while just coming, well, we'll get into some more of that later. But what he said was true. Our economy increased by 150%, but our carbon emissions went down 26% in 20 years. We're on the right trajectory. We're going where we need to go. China's carbon emissions have tripled. Africa's have increased by 53%. And the problem is China controls the green energy, which is irony, but it also shows how ruthless they can be because they went into Africa and they do control that area with an iron fist. All right. They really do. But free market is what drives the technology. People wanting to find this innovative technology to move us forward. The challenge is don't jump on something just because it's new. Look at it and analyze it, But the reason it works, though, is that free market. Free market is free thought. If we can get our electricity from sun and wind and not pollute using, gas-powered generators, great. But we need those things. Batteries, relying on everything having to rely on batteries simply because it sounds good is just idiotic. It just is. I have a very particular example coming up, and it kind of threw my brain. But anyhow, as the Bee put it, winner of Republican debate declared to be anyone who didn't watch the Republican debate. For better or worse, I think Trump has it locked up. I just hope that he adopts a more moderate standpoint. And one of these people, for God's sakes, legalize weed. Enough is enough. Jesus. Sorry you almost lost your 67 Corvette in a fire, Mr. President. Maui strong. His whole thing is that he can empathize with everyone, even if it's an exaggeration or a lie. To some degree, maybe that's a good strategy. Okay? Maybe it's just the way he is. But his latest one about Hawaii, whole town just scorched, and he's talking about his kitchen, basically. But whatever. I just threw that in there because I really thought that was a pretty funny image. I'm not going to be able to do this when I switch the podcast. So, a week ago, last week, the week before, I don't know, Time and I are not the best of friends. But something was mentioned about lawfare. This cartoon sort of explains that donkey saying, despicable, the GOP are weaponizing impeachment. Well, that's basically what it is. Donkey says, Trump is dominating the polls. Biden says, quick, release the indictments. That's lawfare, using the law to disgrace people. Because you can get these indictments, but are they ever valid? It's a corrupt way of doing things. When the law is turned against people, man, it's worse than you can imagine. But this timeline is a great illustration of what lawfare is about. Hunter admits laptop. Next day, Trump indictment news. June 8th, FBI document alleges Biden bribe. June 9th, Trump indicted. Keeps going. The plea deal collapses. The next day, Trump's indicted. It's using the law like pawns in chess. It doesn't matter how much they could say this is legal and this is the way it's done. This is just the kind of shit that we don't need in our politics. And if one side accepts it and the other side doesn't, that's not good enough. Both sides need to say enough is enough of this crap. But again, if you're more moderate, that's the way you probably already feel. This plays to the extremes. This says we're willing to play dirty because we're so right. Whereas people who are moderate don't see either side as having the complete answer. Whatever. Stare at that cute little guy. I need water. I just drank out of a metal straw. That was actually coincidentally just segued really nice. But paper straws contain toxic forever chemicals. Could be worse than plastic. Well, of course. Because this is how it always is. All of this nonsense always backfires. And this is the problem I have with the agenda, this green agenda to rush everything forward. Because as we have the same problem with plastic bags. We now just have thicker bags. Now we have toxic straws that are bad for the environment. Plastic was fine. Everything comes with pluses and minuses in life, folks. There's trade-offs. It's infuriating. It's infuriating. I mean, I'm gonna have to put it in here somewhere. But bags generally cost 5 cents for retailers, and they charge you 10 cents, and they keep the money. They keep their profit. The law doesn't say you have to give it to us. The law says you have to charge them for bags. And now they're thicker bags that are meant to be more reusable, but how many times are you going to use them? How many times? I mean, if you use your bag as a poop bag, you're better off sticking with the lightweight ones that were less pollution. It's just dumb. And here we go with the straws. And then you have this kind of shit happening. Biden quietly sells off border wall parts to thwart GOP push to use them. $300 million worth of components have been left to rust. So he wants to sell them off so they're not there. Because the Finish It Act would make the feds use those materials on new wall construction or hand the remaining stock over to states like Texas for use in their own border defense projects. Why does Texas have to eat? The problem is, what is the point of a union if it's going to push back on you? The United States, the Union of States. And we have to argue over whether Texas or the U.S. is responsible for all these people and for the miles and miles of just open land that people could just walk across. But he's just gross. It's just gross. I mean, if you thought look, if you really think that us securing our borders a bit better is a bad idea, then you're lost. Whatever. I was going to cover this, but basically, my main point is that the Democrats have probably decided that Joe's not the right answer because people can just say, well, if you vote for Joe and he can't serve, then Kamala Harris is vice president. And nobody wants to take that risk. I mean, I want Nikki Haley because if we're going to do this thing about, who's first? Let's make our first woman president a Republican. Something to think about. But the WAPO is changing their mind a little bit, one writer, about what should go on with him. We're going to skip through some of this. I mean, it's a long article. Attempts to blame Maui fires on climate change, challenged by down power lines, possible neglect. Well, of course. But Babylon Bee kind of sums that whole idea up. California drought, undeniable evidence of climate change. Update. California rain, undeniable evidence of climate change. El Nino. That's what it is. It's El Nino. It's wobbles in the planet. It's changes in air flows and ocean currents. And we've been through this before. All right? We need to clean up our act. But as you can see, part of the problem with this whole cleaning up our act is even though the U.S. has cleaned up our act and our emissions go down, if the rest of the world is rising, it still would affect weather everywhere. But you want to support these people. You want to support Biden, who wants to hand over all the green energy money to China, who's going to use it to build a military to attack our interests. Whatever. Ooh, do I get off on tangents? I apologize for that. But, they're talking about how when ABC News put out a headline, why climate change can't be blamed for the Maui wildfires, environmentalists pushed back to change it to say blamed entirely. Yeah, because it was power lines. That's what it was. I mean, there was a book has already come out on it. They were ready. They pounced on this. But as one guy says here, the overriding cause seems to be bad land management, leaving overgrown flammable gas neglected. That sounds a lot like California. The environmentalists have far too much power, too much influence. Their cause was once good. It is now overreaching. We cannot allow Mother Nature to take care of Mother Nature. Mother Nature gives us volcanoes and fucking hippos. All kinds of I saw a turtle murk a pigeon. Okay? Mother Nature is not, you need to control Mother Nature as much as you possibly can, because she will F you up. And allowing just years of dried material to be on the ground is part of the problem. The fire spreads so rapidly, so quickly, like a fuse. If we are going to, and ironically, the same people who want all of these electrical lines going everywhere to provide electricity for everything, because electricity is the answer. That's what starts a lot of these. This guy Kish sums it up really good here. The same voices who hysterically blame everything on the climate also oppose forest and land management. Mother Nature is just an absolute beast. And so, of course, people talked about, well, why didn't you turn the electricity off? Well, as the spokesperson for Hawaiian Electric puts it, electricity powers the pumps that provide the water needed for firefighting. Yeah. One of my previous jobs was checking pumps. They have diesel pumps and they have electric pumps. Never understood electric pumps. Put that much electricity around water. Plus, if you lose power, what's it going to run on? It has batteries. But those batteries need to be maintained. There was just some stupid noise out of my phone. Well, I like things in threes. And I have three perspectives here really quickly. I mean, I already know I'm running late. All right. So, immigration, criminals, and then the big guy, Jesus. Saudi Arabia blew up migrants at Yemen border. Yeah. If you think our policies are bad, yeah, no, they launched machine gun attacks and grenade attacks. If you read the article, you can see what's there. I'm just not gonna. It's gross. Criminals. So there's this Kid Online Safety Act that's working its way through the government, and it's going to fundamentally change how things are done. But it's going to require ID verify. One of the ways now you do it is you have to hold up your license and take a selfie, so your picture, the ID, are in the same picture. And scammers are going crazy for it because criminals don't think like normal people. All they do is think of new ways to commit crimes, new crimes. I'm telling you, you think technology is innovative? Criminals are equally as innovative. That's why softy policies don't work on them. You have to shit hammer them because they're already using this possible. Remember, this is not even passed. And they get kids, often young people, to submit their IDs with a photo, which the criminals can then use to open up other accounts to use their bots to scam more people and more people and more people. Then they could sell your identity to crypto people who could create accounts that way, because you have to verify your identity. So if you want a fake account, you need a fake picture. That's how quickly they pounced on it. That's a perspective on criminals. They are totally innovative. And this one, I got this a while back. I just didn't have time to cover it. ChatGPT written Bible verse on how Jesus feels about trans people sparks discussion about what the Bible actually says about gender. You know, Jesus said, I'm paraphrasing the article. My child, blessed are those who strive for unity within themselves, for they shall know the deepest truth of my Father's creation. Be not afraid, for in the kingdom of God there is no man nor woman, as all are one in spirit. The gates of my Father's kingdom will open for those who love and are loved. For God looks not upon the body, but upon the heart. And this guy says, I know it's not real, but it gave me some comfort. And I'll tell you why I like it and maybe even believe it. Because that's the way I see him. I see him as an ally, not a boss, not an overseer, somebody who's trying to help. I don't remember him rejecting people in the Bible. That's why I go hard, for more of the Christian point of view, not the Old Testament so much. The Old Testament is just full of so many damn rules, man. And if you don't, and I think Jesus kind of wiped that away. Maybe that's convenient. But on the other side, people are holding up this rule while ignoring this rule. And that's the problem I have with religion. I like Jesus, accept people. I understand what it's like to have a struggle. And be honest with you, I kind of believe that's what they're looking for up there. God could come down and prove himself. But that's not what he's looking for. It's not what they're looking for. They're looking for people who can, face the demons. Something to think about, folks. But that's my perspective on it. Whether or not he said it or not, immaterial. That's a baby porcupine. Who knew? They are freaking cute. That's a great video. China. We're going to skip that. California may pay unemployment to striking workers in the hotel and the writer strikes, things like that. But the funds are already insolvent because of what they did with the COVID. We're already down. We already owe $18 billion to the federal government that we had to borrow. So the next time you talk about all this money in California, remember, we're going to spend about the next 10 years paying off that debt plus interest to the government. But yeah, lefties, man, they just dream. And, that's fine. Prigozhin is not dead. Dude's not getting on a plane with his name attached to the manifest and flying over Russia. Come on, to me, this is like really bad writing. Okay, that nobody that's that wanted is ever going to use their name. It's just crazy. And then he flies over Russia and somehow the plane explodes. Wow, a lot of coincidences there. Spain players refused to play after star did not consent to kiss soccer boss. All 23 players. As long as the federation president remains in charge. FIFA, look that up for yourself. It's a governing body. They have UEFA, they have FIFA. FIFA has suspended him. I don't know what that means. But this is... For women all across this planet, this should be the best time ever. You see the forces trying to push down on it. You see it from all different angles. Whether it's the inclusion of biological males, or just the fact that something like this happens, or, the kind of violence that we see out on the streets towards women. of all ages getting beat up, getting robbed, getting raped because criminals are just being let out. It's maddening. And it's sickening that a team that just won the World Cup, I was up for it. I saw that game. It's 3 a.m. Didn't even need an alarm. But I do need a stopwatch for this damn show. Biden requests funds for another COVID vaccine amid rising cases. It'll likely be recommended that everybody get it no matter whether they've gotten it before or not. There's companies returning to the masks. The media, CNN, saying you might need to wear a mask again. I don't know what's going on. You know, it's a bit far out from the election to directly tie it to that, but they may be doing baby steps. This may be a repeat of, God, what it'll be 4 years ago. Wow, it was that long ago. Well, as usual, I went off on tangents. I rambled, but thanks for sticking with me. Please like and subscribe. It'll help my ego. It will, really. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. And, think about things. Think about them. Love you.